pride, pressure, and the man I had to become. Pride was my armor when I was younger. Pride wasn't something I questioned. It wasn't a thought I reflected on. It wasn't even a feeling that I could name. It was something I wore like armor, something that weighed on me and carried me at the same time. It showed up in everything. I remember mornings in the gym, the clang of the weights echoing off the walls. I would line up on the barbell and feel my heart beat in my ears, asking myself, am I strong enough today? Am I better than yesterday? And if the answer wasn't yes, it didn't matter who was watching. It didn't matter if nobody else knew. I felt like I failed. 5'8", 180 pounds, jacked, hungry, walking through life like I had something to prove with every step. And off a whim, while in the military with one of my closest friends, we stumbled across people training in the racquetball court. And just like that, we decided, we can do this too. We joined MMA. Every day after duty, we showed up, not for anyone else, but because we had to see what we were made of. Every eye that looked at me, every opponent I faced, it wasn't just a fight. It was proof that I belonged, proof that I could survive, proof that I was enough. And I carried that pride like armor, because if I stayed strong enough, if I lifted heavy enough, trained hard enough, pushed myself past every limit, nobody would ever see anything else. Nobody would see my doubts, my fears, my insecurities. Because when your identity is built around strength, respect isn't enough. You don't just want it, you need it. And if you can't get it, it feels like the world is falling apart. I remember the quiet voice in the back of my head always whispering, don't slip, don't look weak, don't get outworked. Every day, every moment, that pressure never left. That's why Vegeta always made sense to me. Not because he was the strongest, but because he carried himself like he had something to protect. Not just his title, not just his pride, but the very essence of who he believed he was. I remember one moment watching him in battle, the way his eyes burned with intensity, his fists clenched. He wasn't just fighting to win, he was defending something inside himself, something raw, something unshakable. And I realized, when your identity is built like that, every challenge isn't just a challenge, it's a threat. It's the difference between walking into a fight with confidence and stepping into a fight with your life on the line every single time. And that's a dangerous way to live. But it's the only way I knew how back then. Later in life, after the military, after new battles, my armor changed. It became Novocaine, numbness, detachment, surviving without caring. But before I can get there, pride was my first armor, the one that shaped me, the one that brought me to the training ground. And that's where the real journey begins. The mats, the grind, the sweat. It's where pride meets reality, where every strike, every repetition asks the same question. Are you strong enough? The air hums with potential. Every fighter moving, testing themselves, pushing limits. And there you are, standing in the center, heart racing, hands ready, mind sharp. This is where pride meets reality, where raw effort collides with skill, where you find out what your armor is really made of. So step in. The training ground is waiting. And the first strike, the first lesson, is always the hardest. The Prince mentality. Vegeta wasn't just strong. He was raised to be above everyone else. A prince, elite, chosen. And that kind of upbringing doesn't just give you confidence. It builds expectations. Expectations that become pressure. Pressure that lives in your chest, unrelenting. Because when you grow up thinking you're supposed to dominate, failure isn't just disappointing. It's unacceptable. I remember watching him land on Earth for the first time, arms crossed, standing tall, every scowl, every glare, every step, it was calculated. The world owed him recognition. The universe owed him respect. And in that moment, you see why he fights the way that he fights. Every battle, every punch, every shout, it's not just survival. It's proof. Proof to himself, proof to the world that he's worthy. I've carried that same energy, walking into situations thinking I should win, thinking I have to win, because the alternative isn't failure. It's shame. It's the fear of being overlooked. There's a danger in that mindset because it doesn't leave room for growth. It leaves room for compulsion, for ego, for comparison. Vegeta moves through the world like that, and it's mesmerizing. The pride, the intensity, the refusal to be second. And when you live like that, you never really step into it as a student. You step into it as a judge, judging your opponents, your circumstances, yourself. And the truth, that's lonely. Because no matter how strong you get, no matter how high you rise, the expectation doesn't end. It's an internal war, and you fight it every day. That's the lesson I learned early on. Being a prince in your own life is dangerous because no one tells you when to rest. No one tells you when to let it go. You have to figure that out for yourself. The first crack. I thought I knew who I was. I thought my strength, my size, my effort were enough to carry me through anything. Then I stepped into the MMA gym one day, big, strong, confident, thinking I had it all figured out. I came in swinging, pushing, overpowering, ready to dominate. And then it happened. A smaller opponent, lighter, seemingly less powerful, moved with precision, timing, technique I hadn't accounted for. Every strike I threw, dodged. Every advantage I had, neutralized. And in that moment, disbelief hit. Not because I was defeated, not because I lost, but because my own belief in myself cracked. I remember staring at him, chest heaving, thinking, wait, how is this even possible? How did someone smaller, weaker, make me feel like this? And then I picture Vegeta, the same fire in his eyes, fists clenched, pride burning, chest tight. He's throwing everything at Goku, refusing to accept the gap. But every move seems anticipated, every attack countered. The raw intensity, the frustration, the disbelief, that's what he looks like when reality punches him in the chest. That's the first crack. The moment when pride meets something it can't just muscle through. The moment you realize size, power, and effort aren't everything. Technique, awareness, and strategy can shatter what you thought was unbreakable. That feeling, that mix of disbelief, frustration, and humility, I've carried it ever since. And that internal fracture, that's where growth begins. My mirror. I used to chase the same feeling, going after things bigger than me, heavier weights, tougher opponents, challenges that looked impossible. On the outside, it looked like discipline, like drive, like hunger. But if I'm honest, a lot of it wasn't about growth. It was about proof. Proof that I belonged. Proof that I was strong enough. Proof that I couldn't be overlooked. And here's the danger about pride. It disguises itself as ambition. I remember that pressure sitting in my chest, the tightness whispering, if you don't win, something inside of you will break. Vegeta is the same in the moments we don't see. Sweat dripping, fists clenched, eyes burning, not training with clarity or purpose, but performing. Performing strength, performing dominance. Every motion fueled by frustration, pride, and the need to prove himself. It wasn't about getting better, but about showing that he could. I've carried that fire too, pushing harder, longer, moving faster, lifting heavier, all to convince myself that I was enough, all to survive in the world I was building for myself. That's the line between survival and growth. Fighting to prove yourself isn't the same as fighting to become yourself. It's the same way I see Vegeta, not in the calm moments, not in victory, but when he's alone, training, sweat dripping, eyes burning. He's not focused on technique. He's not meditating or reflecting. He's frustrated. He's clawing against the limits he refuses to accept. I see him pushing through gravity chambers, through intense sparring sessions, every strike, every motion fueled by defiance, not by clarity, not by strategy, but by a refusal to acknowledge where he really is. I've been there too, that raw, desperate energy, where the fight isn't with the opponent in front of you, but with yourself. That's the thing. It's not growth, that's survival. Trying to prove your worth over and over, chasing recognition instead of mastery. Fighting the world, but really fighting yourself. And when you step back and see it, see yourself in that mirror, that's when you realize you don't just have to fight to be seen, you can fight to become. The mirror never lies. It just waits for you to face it. Learning from your rival. After the crack, after staring into that mirror, you meet the rival who doesn't just challenge you. They teach you without saying a word. For Vegeta, that's Goku. calm, precise, fluid, every move effortless, every strike intentional, not flashy, not desperate, mastery. Vegeta's fists clench, chest tight, pride flaring. He wants to dominate, to overwhelm, to prove himself, but he can't. And with every dodge, every counter, every calculated movement, he feels the truth settle in. Force alone isn't enough. And then you notice it, the way Goku flows around him, the rhythm in his strikes, the subtle shifts in his weight and timing. Not a single wasted motion, not a single fight about ego. It's pure execution, and it exposes the cracks in everything Vegeta knew about strength. I've been there too, in MMA, facing someone smaller, faster, technically smarter. You throw everything you have thinking raw power will carry you, and it doesn't. They read your energy, anticipate your moves, and neutralize what you relied on for confidence. That's when the lesson hits. Force alone won't win. Power alone won't make you better. You have to observe, absorb, adapt. You have to use the rival's skill to fuel your growth, not just react to it. Vegeta's fire doesn't die, it sharpens. Every fell strike, every counter, every dodge becomes data. He studies it, learns from it, refines his approach. The raw aggression from before becomes a tool, a vehicle, a weapon with purpose, instead of a blind force. That's the real power of a rival. Not to break you, not to humiliate you, but to show you the way forward, to make you see yourself differently. And if you pay attention, that is the moment when survival turns into mastery. The time chamber. Then comes the hyperbolic time chamber. White, endless, silent. The air heavy. Time stretching. No crowd, no noise, no validation. Just you and the work. Hours on the mat, endless drills, every takedown, every lock, every submission, repeated until it's burned into my body. Getting tapped again and again, learning how my body could move, how leverage could defeat raw power, how timing could make strength irrelevant. Cardio pushed past exhaustion, muscles screaming, lungs on fire. And still, I didn't quit because I wanted the edge. Not just the strength, not just the brute force. I wanted control, precision, mastery. I remember the day it clicked, the triangle choke, the move I struggled with for months. Suddenly, my body flowed with it. Strength and technique became one. Every shift, every squeeze, every adjustment executed perfectly. That fusion of power and strategy, that clarity, that control, it's addictive. Once you feel it, you want it again and again and again. Vegeta knows that feeling too. Alone in the chamber, pushing past exhaustion, repetition becomes obsession. Each moment, each motion, each strike, each moment of energy is refined. Power isn't wasted anymore. It's focused, strategic, calculated. The fire in his eyes burn, not for recognition, not for applause, but for the perfection that comes from relentless repetition. That's the lesson. Hours alone, endless repetition, constant failure, where technique and power collide, where frustration becomes refinement, where raw effort transforms into skill. That's the chamber. That's the grind. That's how mastery is born. You're better than me. And in that silence, that moment where everything slows down, you're standing there breathing heavy, chest rising, sweat running down your face, and there's nothing left to say. No excuses left, no angles left, no, I could have done this different. Just the truth, sitting right in front of you. I remember that feeling, looking across at someone who just figured me out. Not stronger, not bigger, just better in that moment. And then I think about Vegeta, standing there after everything he poured into the fight, watching Goku move with a level of control, calm, and precision he couldn't match. No rage, no explosion, just that quiet realization. You're better than me, Kakarot. And something in you wants to reject it, wants to fight it, wants to hold on to who you thought you were. But you can't. Because once you see it, you feel it. And once you feel it, it changes you. Vegeta doesn't collapse in that moment. And he doesn't run from it either. He stands in it, lets it hit, lets it settle, lets it reshape him. That's the moment everything shifts. The fire doesn't go out. It gets quiet, focused, controlled. No more proving. No more performing. Now it's about understanding. Now it's about closing the gap. And in that moment, you don't walk away defeated. You walk away aware. And that awareness, that's what makes you dangerous. The primal within. Before real growth happens, you have to face your primal self. That raw version of you. The aggressive one. The reactive one. The one that doesn't think, just moves. I've lived in that version. High energy, high aggression, always ready. And there's something powerful about it. Because it's honest. No mask, no filter. Instinct. But here's the truth. If you don't learn how to control that version of yourself, it will control you. And that's where most people get stuck. They mistake intensity for mastery. But then, there's a moment. Right before everything changes. Your body feels it first. A pressure building inside your chest, like something inside of you is waking up. Your heartbeat starts to pound. Not fast, heavy. Each beat pressing against your ribs. Your breathing shifts, deeper, sharper. And then the energy hits. Not around you, inside of you. Heat rising through your spine, spreading through your arms and your legs. Your entire body vibrating with something you can't hold back anymore. That's what it feels like when a Saiyan transforms. Not just power, release, awakening. Control meeting chaos. Because that energy, it was always there. Earlier in life, it showed up as aggression, as overtraining, as pushing past the point of thinking. It made you dangerous, but inconsistent. Burning energy, forcing moments, leaving openings you didn't even see. I've been there, trying to overpower everything, trying to win with force alone. And sometimes it worked, but when it didn't, it exposed everything. But something changes when you evolve. When you've been through the pressure, put in the time, face the truth, and stop running from yourself. Now when that energy rises, it's different. It's not wild anymore. It's guided. Every movement becomes intentional. Every reaction is sharp. Like being on the mat, and everything just clicks. No thinking. No hesitation. You're not reacting anymore. You're flowing. And when that energy takes over, it's not just making you stronger. It's amplifying everything. Your awareness sharpens. Your instincts rise to the surface. Your body stops asking for permission, and it just moves. That voice in your head, gone. Everything you've built, every rep, every failure, every lesson, it all comes forward at once. Not chaotic, controlled. Your mind and body stop working separately. They lock in, move as one. And that's when it feels like the world has slowed down, but you didn't. That's the primal state, not chaos. Control over chaos. For Vegeta, that's what makes Super Saiyan 4 so different. It's not just power anymore. It's mastery of everything he used to be controlled by. The rage, the pride, the instinct, all of it, now his. That's evolution. Not becoming something new, but finally mastering what's already inside you. Because now, they're still thinking, and you're already moving. This is my son. There's a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't come from pride or pressure or proving yourself anymore. It comes from who you're fighting for. Because everything changes when it's not just about you. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because I'm stepping into something new, something bigger than anything I've ever chased before. I'm about to become a father, and that shifts everything. The way you move, the way you think, the way you carry yourself when nobody's watching. It's not just about building yourself anymore, it's about becoming someone worth following. And that's where Vegeta changes, not just as a fighter, but as a man. There's a moment where everything in him is still powerful, still dangerous, but it's no longer reckless. It's grounded. And he says, "How would you feel if I told you there was another like me? Allow me to introduce you to my son. His name is Trunks. He too is a true Super Saiyan. He's not quite as strong as I am, but it would be hard to tell the difference between us. If by some miracle you managed to get by me, Trunks would have finished you off." That's different. That's not ego. That's not performance. That's legacy speaking. Trunks isn't just his son. He's proof. Proof that everything Vegeta went through, every failure, every fight, every lesson, didn't stop with him. It evolved. And I feel like that because I'm not just thinking about who I am anymore. I'm thinking about who my son will see, what he'll learn from me, what he'll inherit, not just in strength, but in mindset and discipline, and how he faces the world. And here's the truth. Purpose doesn't make you softer. It sharpens you, because now failure isn't just yours, it echoes. And growth, that multiplies too. This is the evolution. When strength stops being about being the best in the room and becomes about being the one someone else can stand behind. Because one day, you won't just be introducing yourself to the world. You'll be introducing what you've built. Zanshin, the mind that remains. There's a moment after the strikes land, after the fight should be over, after the transformation is complete. Most people relax there. They exhale, they assume the work has been done, and believe that mastery has been reached. But in Japanese martial arts, there's a concept called Zanshin, the mind that remains. It's not about the attack, it's not about the moment itself, it's about what comes after. Staying aware, staying present, staying ready. Even when everything in you wants to let go, even when no one is watching, even when the fire dies down. And that's the level of discipline most people never reach. It's easy to focus when the fight is loud, when the pressure is intense, when your body is on fire. But can you stay locked in when it gets quiet? Vegeta embodies this perfectly. Even after SS4, even after pushing past pride, past ego, past raw instinct, he doesn't rest. He observes, he calculates, he adjusts. He's not just reacting anymore. He's present, composed, and focused. I felt that. After a match, after a grueling lift, after a session, when every muscle aches, your body wants to stop, your mind wants to rest, but something in you whispers, stay here. That's Zanshin. It's not doing more, it's remaining who you became. It's staying aware when the moment is over. It's keeping the discipline alive when it's easy to relax. Because real mastery doesn't live in its peak. It lives in what remains after the peak. And when you carry Zanshin, you don't have to turn it on anymore because it never left. Vegeta's fire isn't just about strength or transformation. It's about constant persistence, readiness, and awareness. That's what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him unshakable. That's what separates the elite from the rest. And that is the level most people never reach. The mind that remains, the discipline that endures, the awareness that never fades. Zanshin, the consequence of the mind that remains. When you carry Zanshin, it doesn't just show up in the fight, it follows you everywhere. You start to notice things others miss. Movements, reactions, opportunities, subtle shifts that pass by most people unnoticed. Your presence changes. People sense it before they see it. Your energy, calm, controlled, aware, radiates even when you don't speak. Vegeta knows this. Even after transformation, even after victories, failures, and chaos, he's never caught off guard, never unprepared, never fully satisfied. That constant vigilance, that refusal to switch off, comes at a cost because peace feels temporary, because rest feels unnatural. Because you carry the awareness everywhere on the battlefield, in training, and in life. But here's the truth. The payoff is even bigger. You move faster, you act smarter, you no longer react, you're anticipating. You don't just survive, you dominate. I felt this. After the mat, after the gym, after facing someone who should have been stronger but wasn't, because they weren't paying attention. When you embody Zanshin, you become a force that can't be surpassed, distracted, or outpaced. It reshapes the way you live, not just in battle, not just in lifting, but in every decision, every conversation, every moment that matters. That's the consequence of awareness that never switches off. And that's why Vegeta isn't just strong, he's unshakable, prepared, and dangerous. Because when the mind that remains lives in you, the world has to respond to your presence. And that is the power that never sleeps. Talk No Jutsu challenge. So here's a challenge for you. Where in your life are you operating from ego? Where are you reacting from pride instead of clarity? Where is your primal self making the decisions while the real you waits in the shadows? Take a moment. Think about it. Be honest. Now ask yourself, what would happen if you slowed down and stayed aware, if you used Zanshin, if you remained present even after the fight, after the stress, after the applause fades? Because that's where growth lives. That's where mastery shows up. And here's what I want you to do. Comment below what part of yourself you would like to sharpen this week. Like this episode if you felt a spark of truth hit you. Share it with someone who needs to hear this challenge. Follow the channel if you want to keep building your mind, your power, and your legacy. This isn't just content. This is practice. This is your battlefield. And when it's over, when the moment is quiet, will you be ready? Will you stay present? Will you evolve? I'll see you there on the battlefield.